Welcome to the Season of Self-Love podcast. I am your host, Nyomi Banks, and I am thrilled to have you join me on this transformative journey. You see, every day we dive into a powerful conversation about self-discovery, healing, and empowerment. This podcast is brought to you by Ask Nyomi and Elevate Me Self-Discovery, where we believe that loving yourself is the first step to living a fulfilling life. You can expect insightful discussions, practical tips, and inspiring stories. Plus, we'll occasionally welcome special guests who will share their unique perspectives on self-love and personal growth. So get comfy, grab your favorite beverage, and let's embark on this journey together. Because it's time to embrace the beautiful person that you are. So let's elevate our lives one episode at a time. Now let's get started. All right, my beautiful people, well, welcome back to the Season of Self-Love podcast. I am your host, Nyomi Banks, and this is Wisdom Wednesday. So as we continue our July series, Preparing for Transformation, today I am so very blessed to share this sacred space with yet another radiant soul whose journey would both inspire and empower you. I have Aloma Devaux, and I hope I'm saying her last name right. She is a BII survivor who has transformed her experience of illness into a powerful testament to the importance of radical self-trust and authentic living. Aloma's story beautifully illustrates that sometimes our greatest healing happens not just in our bodies, but in our relationships with our own voice. Learning to speak our truth, trust our knowing, and advocate fiercely for ourselves when no one else will. Her journey reminds us that healing is an act of rebellion against anything that tells us we don't know our own bodies or our own needs or even our own truth. So let's begin creating a sacred space where truth can be spoken and received with love. But before we bring Aloma to the stage, let's take a quick break, all right? It's your girl, the goddess, Nyomi Banks here on the Season of Self-Love podcast, and we'll be right back.
Washington Wellness Institute focuses on healing always. For me, if I look good, then I feel good. If I feel good, then I share the good. If I share the good, then I celebrate the good. If I celebrate the good, then I live the good, so I can be paid to be my greatest. But I have to learn the good to be the good.
So, what does it take to be the greatest? It's as simple as a free 15-minute consultation. Be kind to yourself and heal always.
Hey, it's your girl, the goddess, Nyomi Banks, and make sure you tune in every Thursday night to Ask Nyomi Bridging the Gap podcast, where we talk about everything from love, sex, relationship, cultural differences, and so much more. We're bridging the gap between them all, and we even talk about spiritual uplifting. You need to stop by. Me and Dr. Mike, as well as the BTG crew. We have some amazing guests that come through. You never know. Just make sure you tune in Thursday night, 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Go to xnaomi.com and tell them Nyomi sent you. All right, my beautiful people, well, welcome back. Well, hello, Miss Aloma. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am so well. Again, thank you for just joining us here on this podcast, here at the Season of Self-Love, and just having the courage to share your story. But before we get into your story, we do a nice little guided meditation just to help ground us before we, talk about the topic, right?
Okay.
All right, so my beautiful listeners, if you all can right now, just close your eyes and just get in a comfortable position. Take a slow, intentional breath in. Hold it with awareness. Now exhale completely. Letting go of anything that isn't serving you in this moment. I want you to feel your body sinking into this present moment, fully supported and completely safe. Now place one hand on your throat and one hand on your heart, connecting with your voice and your truth. Imagine a warm golden light beginning to glow in your throat chakra, expanding with each breath. This is the light of your authentic voice, your inner knowing, your unshakable truth. Now, as you breathe, feel this light growing stronger and brighter, more confident. This is a voice that always knows what's right for you. The voice that speaks with love and clarity. The voice that deserves to be heard and honored. Now your next breath, I want you to breathe in the courage to speak your truth. And then I want you to breathe out any fear of being misunderstood or dismissed. Know that your voice matters. Know that your experience matters. Know that your truth matters. And when you are ready, gently bring your awareness back to our conversation, carrying this sense of vocal empowerment with you. All right, my beautiful people. Again, thank you for sharing that space with me right now. And if you're new here to the Season of Self-Love podcast, it's something we do every day, Monday through Friday, just to help ground us before we get into our topic. And again, this is a topic that's very personal for me because this is something that I'm going through at this moment in time. So as I continue to prepare my own Explant journey, I'm so amazed by the powerful women and their stories to heal, not just the storyteller, but everyone who witnesses them. You know, each brave woman who shares her journey, it creates a ripple of courage that extends far beyond what she or I might ever know. You know, Aloma's story is particularly moving because it demonstrates a profound transformation that can happen when we stop apologizing for knowing our own bodies and start trusting ourselves as the ultimate authority on our own experience. Her journey shows us that finding our voice isn't just about speaking up, but it's about trusting what we know to be true, even when the world around us suggests otherwise. It's about the radical self-trust as both a healing practice and a way of life. But today we explore Aloma's beginning story to the awakening that changed her relationship with her body and her voice. The courage it took to advocate for herself in the face of doubt, and to profound wisdom she gained about trusting ourselves completely. Again, Aloma, thank you for being here today and for your willingness to share your story with such openness and grace. I am so grateful that you are in our presence.
Well, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Yes, beautiful. So I want you to know that this space is completely yours. So it's your story, it's your truth and your experience. So please share wherever you feel right and what's true for you, and know that you can have this space that you need. So how did you begin? Like, what made you say it's time for my explant? No, first of all, let's go all the way back. Let's go all the way back to that decision that say, I need some implants. Let's go there.
Yeah, that was a young, foolish girl, in her 20s. And I kind of jumped on the bandwagon with a friend who was like, hey, I'm going to get some boobs. And I was like, well, I want to get some boobs. I mean, why not? Mm-hmm. Truth is, I had perfect breasts. I just wanted them to be a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
And I ended up with huge breasts. The doctor that I went to ended up being a complete wacko, and he got shut down. It was this whole drama that, happened with him, but we didn't have the internet back then. So we didn't know about it until years later. Then I had those implants for 13 years. And I just lived with them because I thought, well, I did it, so now I have to live with it.
Right.
I had an accident on my horse, and I felt something was off. So I started, I got an MRI, and they said there was no rupture. They didn't see any issues. But one of the implants had come out of the pocket. And so I decided to get them replaced. Now, nobody ever said anything about, silicone is bad. You need to have them redone every 10 years. Nobody said, they could make you sick. Just here you go. Don't lift anything for 4 weeks. Have a nice life. And I had those implants for 19 years. I had subtle symptoms, but I never knew that they were related to the implants.
Right.
Notably, the one thing that I noticed after my replacements was that I had a really strong odor coming from my breasts, and it was like a medicine smell. So that stuck with me for years. It was really strange. I don't know that I've ever heard anybody else say that they've experienced that before. But, mind you, I got those replacements in my 30s, and I had already been diagnosed with like arthritis and all kinds of stuff. I mean, I was too young for any of that.
Okay.
I used to get night sweats, but I would only get night sweats from like here down just underneath my breasts. So like this whole area would sweat profusely in the evenings.
Mm-hmm.
I just had very random things, but again, I never thought it was related to the implants.
Right. Okay, hold on. I'm hearing a ringing. What's that ringing? Is that ringing on your side?
Oh, it's probably my notifications on my computer.
Okay, so let's do this. Let's pause it for a minute and see if you can take that off, because that is very loud. Hold on one second.
Sorry. How do I?
All right, so this is my question. I know you just explained about your decision. If it's like, one of my good girlfriends going to get, so let me go get me a pair, like it's a 2-for-1 deal.
Right.
And I totally understand that, because I remember when I made a decision that I was going to get implants. And my sister did the same thing. She was like, okay, my sister going to get implants. I'm going to get implants. And we actually were a part of the same singing group, so it was like, we did it for our career, and all of that other stuff. But when I look back right now, I'm like, oh my God, did we just do this a 2-for-1 type of thing? And now we're here, going through this right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was so, I laughed because I said to Shelly Jean the other day, I was like, oh my God, this is like it's a mirror imaging, the echoing of my life and my choices, what it did with these.
Yeah, we're all like on the buddy system. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, exactly. So when you did get that, get your implants, what were your hopes and dreams when you made that choice? And what were you hoping that would shift or change in your life?
I was a very insecure young lady. I had a lot of trauma in my life when I was younger. And what's funny is that I didn't really like a lot of attention. But how would I still, like, I look back and I go, well, what was I thinking that was going to do? Like, hello, that's going to bring more attention to me. So, I don't know what I was thinking, honestly. I just feel like, it was going to be a boost in my morale. Maybe I would do better in life. I struggled a lot back then. I struggled with work and friends and family and everything. So I guess it was just something to fill a void.
Yeah.
Frankly,
Yeah. You know what, looking back now with all of the growth and the wisdom that of course you have, right, that you gained just through your journey completely, how do you feel toward the version of yourself who made that decision?
I feel sad for her. I feel sad for that young lady, because there's so many things that, we always look back and say, gosh, I could have done so many things different. And how would my life have been if I had, done those things differently? But at the end of the day, we can't take any of that back.
No.
And, I've had to own up to all of those things. I did feel a lot of guilt when I decided to explant. I actually had to reach out and ask my friends to help me pay for part of that. And that's where some of the guilt came in too. Like, how can I sit here and say, hey, I did this, but I was wrong. And now I need you to help me fix it. That was really hard. But I've forgiven her. She did what she thought she needed to do. So
I think, thank you for sharing that when you just said that, I had to, ask my friends to help me to, you know, for this surgery to help something that I've done to my own self. You know,
Mhm.
right there, my heart just did it skip the extra beat, because it's truly about um, owning and speaking your voice, you know,
Mhm.
and asking for help, you know,
Yeah,
when knowing, you know, and that's a powerful thing. A lot of people would think that's weakness, but there is no shame in that.
right.
Shame would have been if you just sat in it and just allow that toxic to, ruin and just, I have a brain fog right now,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
just, you know, take your body out completely, you know. So you having a voice and finding your voice to be able to even speak to your friends, that speak values. And that speaks values of your friends too, of the connection in your community that you have,
mhm,
that they are supportive of you regardless of the choices that you made in your life. You know,
yeah,
I also think the ability to just hold compassion for our past selves, while also honoring the growth. That's a beautiful part of this whole healing process. It sounds like that you have just integrating them both,
yeah.
understanding why you made the choice, but also while celebrating how far you've come. And I want you to know, even in that moment when you said, I had to ask my friends, and that's some shame to me, I think you're a lot of people heroes, because a lot of people might need to hear that right now, that's probably sitting there right now like, how can I possibly do this? How can
Mhm.
I possibly pay for that explant surgery? And
Yeah.
and living in that shame, and unable to go ask that friend or those friends, like, you know what, you know, could you help me out right now? I don't have the money to pay you back right away, but I'm really going through something right now. So I thank you for sharing that part of your life there. All right, so let's talk about the moment that everything shifted. That everything shift. When did you first start questioning your implants or recognizing that something might not be right? Was there a specific awakening moment, or was it more of a gradual unfolding of it all?
So about 10 years ago, I had a lump in my breast
Mm,
and I had to go and get, you know, a bunch of stuff done and tests. And at the time, I thought, you know, this would be a really great time for me to get these things out of my body. I could never really explain it to people around me, like, because everybody always said, oh, you got these, you wanted them, now you have to live with them, you know. But I felt if I could just get them out of my body, I would feel free.
yeah,
And I could never explain that in words. Um, and obviously, I didn't do it 10 years ago, but
right,
that's when it first hit me like, this is something I really need to start thinking about.
yeah.
About 3 years ago, I was really sick and I went to get x rays to see if I had pneumonia. And they said in the report that they could see calcification on the implant.
Oh
They
wow.
could see it in the x rays. So, and it was just like a side note, you know,
Yeah.
you should go see your doctor about this and discuss this issue. And I was like, oh, okay. Well, about that time, I had started noticing that my implants were no longer sitting where they should be sitting, and they were getting really hard and they were kind of uncomfortable. And with that, I still had that lump in there too. So that just kind of added to that.
Right.
Um, I would wake up in a panic every day, like, oh my God, did the implant rupture? And so about 6 months ago, I finally started going down the rabbit hole and researching doctors in the area to have the implants taken out. That's when I discovered BII.
Mhm.
And that's when I found that you can't just go to any plastic surgeon and have this done. It is really so important to understand that you can't just go in and have the implants removed and voila, you're good as new. There's just so much more involved, but it's it's complicated, but not.
Mhm.
It's simple if it's done right. So so that's where I started. I actually interviewed with one doctor and decided that I didn't think he was going to be a good fit for me. And I waited 6 months before I reached out to someone else because the cost was a problem. And
Mhm.
also my little lump friend was a problem. And I had to figure out how to deal with everything. Um, And honestly, I didn't feel at the time, I still didn't feel like I had that many issues with BII.
Mm-hmm.
Denial, but I also kind of felt like a fraud because I was like, well, I don't have, lupus or any of these crazy autoimmune diseases. I mean, so maybe it's just not that bad.
Yeah.
But again, denial, big time. So it took me 6 months from starting my research to actually getting a doctor. And once I talked to them, I was in. I was like, sign me up. Can I come tomorrow? And I had no idea how I was going to pay for it. I scheduled my appointment and I just trusted that God, the universe, and whoever,
Wow.
it was going to happen. I knew I had some money I could put in care credit. The rest of it I left up to the man upstairs. And it all worked out. It was amazing. It happened so quick.
Wow. That is so powerful. I'm just sitting here, and right now, I have tears that is in the back of my back. I'm just like, no, Naomi, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that, because just listening to your story, and as you were talking about waking up in the morning with anxiety and, hoping that that bag doesn't burst in your body.
Mm-hmm.
And it's when you sit and you think about it, and I want my listeners to truly listen and hear me when I say this. And I'm not trying to put fear in you, but I'm just trying to give you the realization of what we go through and what we feel when it's something in our body that's deteriorating our body and we have nothing to do about it. Nothing. A lot of doctors don't know what it is. And some of the ones that do don't want to say what it is because it's against what the whole, breast implants, all of that thing is, and so I commend you for saying, okay, that's it. I got to get up and go. That you really was like, I have to listen to my body.
Mm-hmm.
I really do. I can no longer go through this. And I heard you when you said about that's not me. I don't have the the autoimmune disease and all of that other stuff. So I'm not that bad. That's not happening. That denial thing that we do go through.
Mm-hmm.
We and honestly, I don't know if it's denial as much or as you still haven't seen yourself in there, if that makes sense. You still haven't seen yourself within the amazing women that are sharing their experience. You still haven't seen yourself. Myself, when I was sick and was like, oh, I can't, this is unbearable. I don't know what I'm going to do. And I remember going into the group and I remember seeing everything. And I'm like, okay, I don't have any of these autoimmune disease, but I got that symptom, that symptom, that symptom. That's okay. Hold on. That's oh shit. That's them. Just going down. I was like, wait, hold on. Like this is.
I got the list right here. When I started checking off the boxes, I was like, oh, okay. So, okay. Yeah, that was the reality check, was that checklist.
Yes. Was that checklist?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Was the reality of it? Yes. And I remember some of the things that I would tell my doctor, and he was like, well, do you think you're going through premenopause? Do you think you might need this medication for this? And I'm like, I'm not a medication person. I'm a very herbal person.
Yes.
I like to have my herbs. So, be able to fix whatever ailment that's going on. And it's just not working. It's just not happening in doing that. I think it's important for women to hear that these experiences, because so many struggle to make the connection between their symptoms and their implants.
Mm-hmm.
Just like you said in the beginning, I probably had those faint feelings before, but I didn't know that it was so connected to breast implant illness. So I was about to ask you this question, but you already answered that question on how you first heard about BBI, and how you connected the dots. But what was the most difficult part about accepting that your implants might be causing your health issue? Because I can imagine that there was some internal resistance, that realization, and I know you felt some guilt, but also within that, was there any relief? Were there any was like, I'm not going crazy? So let me stop answering for you. What was it?
There was a lot of relief. There were a lot of aha moments, because, especially for symptoms that I started exhibiting in the last year. Because, I thought, well, it's just age. It's just because I'm lacking exercise. I did go through early menopause and it was awful. It was the worst. And so, when I started reading other people's testimonies and looking at, the different checklists and the things, I was like, oh my God. That's that's me. Like, I've been experiencing that. And I'm not a doctor person. So I'm not the person that's been like, hey, I've been to every specialist to see what's wrong with me. No, thanks. I've just, honestly, I have suffered silently because I just didn't feel like it was bad enough, or I didn't even know that some of those things were a problem. I just thought it was me getting old or, whatever. So yeah, lots of aha moments, definitely a lot of relief. Like, oh my God, okay, now I know, and I realize we can't blame every little thing on these breast implants, because there are going to be some natural mishaps as we get older. But definitely too many to be a coincidence.
Right.
So
let me ask you this, because you do have your list in front of you right now that I see. If you don't mind, if you can share, what was the symptoms that you had? So even if our listeners right now are listening and they can say, wait a minute, I'm going through that same thing that Aloma is going through.
I definitely had a lot of shortness of breath in the last 6 months. I'm not kidding. I literally would get winded walking upstairs. And I'm not terribly out of shape. I mean, I'm still pretty decent shape, and I'm not that old. I don't smoke. I don't drink. So to have that was like, what the hell's going on? I had a lot of, I hear people talking about clearing their throat constantly or not being able to swallow. I always had glue in my throat. That's the only way I could describe it. I always felt like I had glue in there. So in the last year or so, I started getting a lot of like little freckles, but down underneath my breasts or like underneath, just there, not anywhere else on my body. I don't have a lot of freckling, but they were like those little red pigment things. I don't know what they are. And strangely, that's also on the list. So chronic neck and back pain. My shoulders were always really bad. Now, obviously the weight, is going to, do some things to you, but because I had, the contracture with the capsules, they were pulling on different parts of my chest. And, the way it was just explained to me is that it's basically like you're a marionette inside, and it's pulling on all these different parts of you and pulling you out of whack and, tugging on things that you shouldn't have anything in there pulling on your body parts like that. Chronic fatigue, inflammation. I mean, I just did a before and after picture earlier today. My face was so puffy the day of my surgery that I almost didn't even recognize myself. Joint pain, brain fog. I'll tell you a quick little thing. I was driving to my friend's house one day from another part of town. I started to get on the highway, and I was like, wait a minute. I don't remember which way I'm supposed to go. I drove back and forth on the bridge, on the overpass, like 4 times before I finally realized I was supposed to go that way. I mean, it would just be the most random brain farts. And it was really bad. And it was kind of alarming because, I'm too young for Alzheimer's. I mean, that's in my head. I was like, please tell me it's not Alzheimer's, because that's horrible. But, just random things like that. I will say that and this one is kind of sensitive, but I had very low libido for a very long time. Before I left my last relationship, I just thought it was like, oh, there's something wrong with me. I've just had zero. And that one was kind of a tough pill to swallow. But, and then I had the night sweats. I had vertigo really bad, just random bouts of vertigo. And I had it so severe when I moved from the West Coast to the Midwest. I had it the whole time I drove here. And after, it was awful.
I'm like, how did you do that?
I went to the doctor and they didn't know anything about it. They were like, well, you just need to do this, do a couple of these Epley maneuvers and you should be fine. But I tried everything and and then I just kept having vertigo spells. That was probably one of the hardest things to deal with, because if anybody's had the dizzies, sucks. It sucks.
Yeah.
So, and there's other things, I've had insomnia for years. I have been sleeping a lot deeper lately, so that's nice. Still get up a couple times in the night, but that's because I'm trying to stay hydrated, I have never discussed this with anybody ever. But I've heard women say that they had suicidal thoughts. And I've never admitted to it, but I have had moments in the past where I felt so helpless that I thought, it would be easier to just not feel that way anymore. And it wasn't because I was feeling so sick. I just felt so overwhelmed. And, I just so relieved that I don't have to feel that way anymore. So I really feel for the women who have had it a lot harder than I have, but we've all had a rough go of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Again, thank you for just being so vulnerable, but with strength, with so much strength right now, just to even share that with me. And I can imagine, I truly can. I right along with you, I have vertigo and it's really bad. Even as we speak right now, I'm swimming. I'm swimming with it, but it does. And I don't think people understand that it becomes very disabling.
Yes.
I shared just the other day or last week in a conversation that I can truly understand about people that are paralyzed from the neck down. When your mind wants you to do so many different things, but your body won't allow you to do those things. And it's very disheartening and it's very overwhelming. And sometimes you feel like, I just want to go to sleep and not wake up.
Yeah.
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 And so I understand exactly what that feeling is. And then put on top on it, you say, I did this to myself. You go through that guilt. So now let's talk about, you've now made the decision to have the explant surgery. Now you get ready to take all of this stuff out of there. What fears or concerns came up for you when you were considering making this big decision, even when you knew that it was the right thing to do? I guess they want to talk too, huh?
Can you hear them? I'm sorry. I locked them out so they wouldn't be in here.
That fear can still show up in very powerful ways for you. How did fear come up, and was that concern for you? And what was it?
Obviously going into a surgery is scary. I don't do well with anesthesia, so I was really worried about being sick, because every time I've gone under, I've come out and just, puked for 24 hours. I mean, my body just does not like any of that stuff. I honestly wasn't worried about what I was going to look like afterwards, because I knew that it was out of my control. And I knew that the doctor would do the best he could with whatever I had to work with. Because I do see a lot of people, so super concerned about it, but that's like their only focus. I just knew that I needed to get healthy and I needed to be free of these things. And, like I said earlier, I can't explain it, but I just felt like if I could just get them out, I will be free.
Yes.
It's just freedom,
Yeah.
Anyone who's had them out, they understand what I'm talking about,
Yeah.
and you really do feel such a weight has been lifted off of you, emotionally, like literally, and spiritually, everything. It's just amazing.
Yeah. Beautiful. So let's talk about your surgery. Let's talk about the surgery experience. Please, only if you comfortable with sharing it all.
Oh, absolutely.
What would you want the listeners to know about that part of your journey?
Like I said, it is scary going into a surgery, but you have to go into it with an open heart and just trust the process.
Yeah.
I will say that the recovery was more frustrating for me because I had a lot of trauma where the doctor did take out that lump for me as well as do the explant in the lift. So I had a lot of bruising on one side and I had a lot of seepage on one side. In fact, I just had my 6-week post-op today.
Oh, beautiful.
Everything's good. I do still have a small area that is not closed up all the way.
Okay.
So I just had to lean into, am I going to feel bad? Am I going to feel good? And whatever I was feeling, I just accepted it.
Yeah.
I think I only cried once about, the whole process. Other than today. But I just, anybody going into it, you really just need to do some research. You need to feel good about what you're doing and why you're doing it. I know that if you're not ready, it's not going to feel right. Because I do see a lot of women who I feel like they kind of rush into it, but then their expectations are not appropriate or realistic. So that's probably the biggest thing. You just have to have realistic expectations.
Yeah.
The only thing I expected to feel was free and healthy. So
Right now, how do you feel? Do you feel free?
I do. I'm so happy. And I feel like I look way better than I ever did even before implants. So it's funny because I was like, gosh, it only took me 32 years to get what I actually wanted. Finally. So yeah, I do. I feel really, really good. And I have more energy. I'm thinking clearly again, which is nice. And now that I'm kind of, there's going to be still a long road of recovery because you're not just instantly fixed in 6 weeks. You have to stay on top of everything still. But I'm excited about moving forward from here.
Yeah. So let me ask you this: how, and I heard you say that you had moments where you had a moment where you cried and just going through the emotional thing with the healing process. How did you nurture and support yourself through that healing process, and what practices or people or resources were most helpful for your recovery?
I had some very good friends that helped me through my recovery, family. And, I had a lot of people that were like, oh, I'll come visit you. If you need any help, I'll help you. But honestly, once the dust settled and my friend went home and everybody had kind of come and brought food and did a couple things for the first week, I was happy to be alone. I really just kind of sat in the quiet and took care of myself. I ate good. I slept when I needed to sleep. I drank lots of water. I watched whatever I wanted to watch on TV. And I was okay with that. I didn't feel like I needed a bunch of people around me. I didn't feel like I needed a ton of people taking care of me. I prepared for that before the surgery.
Okay.
So I felt very prepared at home, at least.
Right.
And, I did pop into the support groups. The office advocate at my doctor's office, she checked in with me, and she was wonderful too. Just such a great human being. She literally held my hand while I went into surgery. So
That Miss Laura?
that was Miss Laura. Yes, she's the best. I just love her. She's so sweet.
Yes, she is. She is. She is a beautiful soul. I had the privilege to be able to interview her as well for this podcast. And
Oh, great.
yeah, she gave some amazing advice, and just even her story as
Mhm.
well. Just so her, being back there. I mean, she started back when we didn't have any, cell phones were like the flip phones or the bricks back then when she
Right.
started her, her whole thing with it. And it's just amazing that she's continuing with it, boots down, her and her husband. So I think it's so amazing that, and just how all of us just came across one another. Because I'm originally from Chicago, but I live in Las Vegas. And so
Mhm.
me even seeing her post, she was commenting under somebody else's post in a whole nother group,
Yeah.
caused me to go over to that group and caused me to find Dr. Sood. And I knew it was truly supposed to be aligned
Mhm.
where I was supposed to be at. Yeah.
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 Wonderful there.
Yeah.
We were laughing because when she asked me how I found them, I said I actually found them on Reddit, of all places, because I was looking for before and after pictures.
Mm.
Nobody wants to go to a doctor if they don't see his work.
Hello.
So I definitely kind of went down a rabbit hole on that. And then I found the group and I was like, okay. And yeah, somehow her and I connected on Facebook, and it took a couple of months before I actually called the office and had my consult though.
Wow.
So yeah, but once I had my consult, I was like, okay, what's the next date? Here's my credit card.
So let me ask you this. Now you've had your surgery, you're at home resting, everything. And I know you said this is your 6 weeks checkup today. What changes begin to emerge for you physically, emotionally, or maybe even spiritually? And how did your body or your entire being start to transform? Or have you seen it start to transform as of yet?
So when I came out of surgery, the next day, immediately I noticed that I felt better.
Wow.
Back pain, neck pain, all of that gone. Like I literally went there and I was so stressed out and I had, stuff going on with my back and my neck. None of that. It was all gone. And it's crazy because you see people say, oh, I've noticed so many changes with my breasts every day or every week. But just the overall changes in your body and your mind every week has been amazing. The transformation. A week ago was totally different than how I feel today. And I feel better. Like you just feel a little bit better each week. And, there was, of course, we had drains. I had to have those drains in. Those things are horrible. I'm sorry. I don't want to scare anybody.
No,
but I was probably more afraid of the drains for the whole recovery process than anything else. They weren't that bad. They're annoying. You've got these tubes hanging out of you and you've got to go in and strip the drains and do all that. And they were kind of a nuisance to me. And once I got them out, it was like an instant relief just with that, and that was on day 16. So the first couple weeks kind of felt like, man, it's taken forever to get somewhere with this. But I was kind of obsessive and I took pictures of my breasts almost every day because I wanted to see how the bruising was,
right.
if the shape was changing, that kind of thing. I took pictures of my face because I wanted to see how much the swelling had gone down. And, Laura had said to me when I was there, take pictures, document everything, because once it's gone, you don't have that opportunity anymore. And so I really kind of grabbed hold of that and did just that. I documented the heck out of everything. So, but yeah, I would definitely say that, the transformation is going to be different for everybody. But for me personally, I just feel like each week has been a blessing in different ways.
Yeah. I kind of got emotional when you were saying about the very next day you felt better,
Mm-hmm.
like an ease. And I, right now, just when you were talking, I just visualized myself coming out of surgery the very next day and feeling just so free, like no headaches, no body aches, no nothing, no, not feeling drained, just feeling full. I tell my co-host on Mondays, Dr. Will, and he asked me what was my intention, what was I looking for to get from getting, removing my explants. And I said, first of all, it will make me complete. It will complete me. I think out of all of these years that I've lived my life, all of the wisdom that I have, just everything that I've accomplished, as well as just did my work on myself and loving myself, that was the only part of me that was incomplete. It was like, how can I talk about self-love when I have two foreign objects in my body that was a part of me loving myself because of those things? You understand what I'm saying? Why my confidence was that like that.
Yeah.
I remember, and I say this joke all the time. I'm 80%, but once I take these two out of this, 10%, 10% is gone. I'll be 20% after that. But I felt you when you said that next day that you, and that's what I'm excited about. That's what I vision to look like, is to be, I understand that everyone heals differently, and so for me, I'm actually taking those 2 months off, the August and September off, and kind of being to myself and actually really going through the healing process with eating the right foods, even surrounding myself by amazing people that won't spiritually drain me at all. And so
Yeah.
just as you said, that was very enlightening for me. And thank you for sharing that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. All right. So we are at the end of our show. We really is. And it would, because I didn't even get to ask a lot of questions. Um, no, I'm gonna go. No, I'm gonna say this. What would you share with women who are considering explant surgery, but is still feeling uncertain or scared?
Well, I think the first thing I would say is ask yourself what you're scared of.
Mm,
Is it because you're afraid of how you're going to look? Is it because you're afraid of the financial burden? Are you afraid they're going to find something? Are you afraid it's not going to fix you? Um, and then give yourself some grace and just know that, you know, you have to listen to your body. Just like you said, you've got to listen to your body and know that you're going to make the right decision for you. There's nobody can tell you what, you need to do. You have to listen to your body and know that that is absolutely the right time for you to do that. And it's going to be fine. You're going to be okay. It's not as scary as it seems. It's going to go by super fast. I can't believe it's already been 6 weeks. I was 6 weeks. I scheduled mine 6 weeks out. And every day I was like, oh my God, I wish it'd hurry up and get here. And then it was there and I was like, oh my God, it's here. But it's an amazing experience. For me personally, it wasn't super painful. So I didn't have to take a lot of stuff.
yeah.
And I just got to sit in my new body and let it heal and watch it heal and watch the progression for a new lease on life. And it's worth every penny. It's worth every second of your recovery, and you owe it to yourself. You're absolutely worth it.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for those Last words. I myself right now, I am 6 weeks out.
Yay.
Yeah, as the time of this taping, you all, I am 6 weeks, 6 weeks out. All right. So, Aloma, I am so deeply grateful for you and your courage, your wisdom, and your willingness. Oh my God, to just share your truth so openly and beautifully. You know, your journey is truly going to inspire somebody. It's already inspired and empowered me in so many different ways. But for so many other women that are out there learning to trust their own voices and advocate for their own healing. If listeners right now, if you're listening and want to connect and they want to connect with you or follow your continued journey and learn more about is there a way that they can contact you or on Facebook or anything like that?
Yeah, they can reach out to me on Facebook. It's my profile is public. It's Aloma Devaux, and I'm in a lot of the BII groups as well. So you can always search for Aloma in there. There shouldn't be any other Alomas. At least I haven't seen any in there.
I actually know Aloma. I grew up with her sister. We were best friends. Yes. Yeah. And you're the second Aloma that I've ever met.
I know
two of you walking around here.
I know three. My first one was my grandma.
Okay.
I met another one through work. She lived in like the Bahamas or something. So it was kind of crazy, but yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, I'm more than happy to talk to. I've already had a lot of women reach out to me on Facebook and ask me questions, and it's interesting. Like I said, it's a little community within a community, and it's beautiful. So I'm an open book.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you again for just sharing your story. And to my beautiful souls out there, I hope that Aloma's story has reminded you of the incredible power of your own voice and the wisdom of your own knowing. You know, her journey shows us that radical self-trust is just not a nice idea. It's a revolutionary act. Whether you're considering explant surgery or facing any major health decision or just simply learning to trust your inner voice more completely, remember that you are the ultimate authority on your own experience. Your body speaks to you constantly. Your intuition guides you continuously. And your voice, that beautiful, powerful voice that Aloma has reclaimed so courageously, deserves to be heard and honored and trusted. So let's close this moment. Will we start doing, I'm just doing it in the month of July as we do what I call a conclusion closing meditation. So if you would just share this moment with me as well as you listeners right now, if you just get in a comfortable position and just close your eyes for a moment. Place one hand on your throat and one hand on your heart, connecting with your voice and your truth. Now take 3 deep attentional breaths, feeling the vibration of your breath in your throat. Now speak silently to yourself. I trust my voice. I trust my knowing. I trust my truth. Feel these words resonating in your throat, in your heart, in your entire being. Now ask your inner voice, what do you most want me to know today? And listen with complete openness to whatever arises, a feeling, a word, a sense, or a simple knowing. Maybe it's encouragement about a decision that you're facing. Maybe it's guidance about your health or your life. Maybe it's simply a reminder of how loved and supported that you are. Whatever your inner voice shares, receive it with gratitude and trust. This voice, your voice, is your most reliable guide, your most faithful companion, your most loving teacher. And I want you to say to yourself, I honor my voice. I trust my knowing. And I will listen to my truth with love and respect. And feel this commitment settling into your bones. your heart, your very essence. Your voice matters. Your truth matters. You matter. Now take one more deep breath in, carrying this sacred trust into your week. All right, my beautiful people, thank you again for just sharing that moment, that closing moment with us right here. This week, I just want you to practice just honoring your voice, both the small and the significant ways. Each day, ask yourself, what is my truth about this situation? What do my inner voice want me to know? And practice speaking your truth with kindness, but clarity. Notice when you want to dismiss your own knowing and choose to trust instead. If Aloma's story moved you, please share this episode with someone who might need to hear about the power of radical self-trust. Your sharing could be a catalyst that helps another woman find her voice or to trust her own knowing. Remember, my beautiful people, whether you are facing major life decisions or simply learning to trust yourself more deeply, your voice is your superpower. The more that you honor it, the stronger it becomes, and the more aligned that you are with your life, and it becomes your authentic truth. Trust your voice. Trust your knowing. Trust your magnificent wisdom that you live in. And so until next time, keep speaking your truth and loving you. Have an amazing, amazing day. Thank you again.
Thank you.